African leaders have called on world leaders to rally behind a global carbon tax on fossil fuels as the continent seeks to have the global financial system reformed. A declaration adopted by leaders of the 54 African countries represented at the Africa Climate Summit held in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, has urged the world's biggest emitters of the planet-warming greenhouse gases and the richest countries to keep their promises. CGTN's Daniel Arap Moi reports.
The Nairobi Declaration highlights major challenges and opportunities for a more equitable climate regime. It provides African countries with a platform to make a strong case for support at the forthcoming COP28 meeting to be held in the United Arab Emirates.
At the summit, we've clearly heard from Africa that its priority is to pursue an accelerated transition. It's just an equitable transition to a renewable energy, climate resilient future.
On this day, we convey a clear and resounding message to African nations, the African Union and their linked institutions. The voices of African women should never be an afterthought.
The declaration states that increased support to Africa should be based on the continent's priorities like adaptation and financing. It highlights the need for a clear financial architecture for climate change with fair governance and simplified access procedures.
We also made it clear that we are aware of the unjust configuration of multilateral institutional frameworks that perpetually place African nations on the back foot through costly financing, which plunge our economies into debt trap and deny them resources needed to mitigate and adapt in response to climate change, invest in energy transition, and facilitate industrialization to create jobs and wealth, and to reduce inequality.
It further stresses the need for African countries to take hard decisions and make uncomfortable changes to set international consensus on an Afrocentric and globally inclusive path into an African future. The leaders unanimously agreed that their efforts to achieve prosperity will not succeed if there are no opportunities for the youth.
The Nairobi Declaration is intended to define a common position among the 54 African countries that are involved in the climate change negotiations. Daniel Arap Moi, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.